Hi guys! So this is going to be the first of a series of videos I'm going to do. This first one is going to be Liliana's birth story / what to expect during a C-section. So the night before my C-section, they had me wash with antibacterial soap, which they provided for me. It basically just smells like a hospital. Our C-section was scheduled for 9, so we were asked to show up at 7 in the morning, and I was asked not to eat anything after midnight the night before. I was to not wear makeup, no perfumes, no hair products, and no jewelry, including piercings. They put in my IV and they went over a bunch of paperwork with me and did my vitals a couple of times. And then we were told that we were going to be potentially bumped because there was an emergency C-section. And as soon as we got comfortable with the idea that we wouldn't be going in until 10, my surgeon literally just came in and was like, all right, we're doing this right now. Hayden was asked to put on his hazmat suit, is what I jokingly call it, but it was really just scrubs and a face mask and a hair mask, while they wheeled me out in the bed to the operating room. And in there it was cold and bright, and there were a lot of people and they were all talking. They had me sit up and they instructed me to sit like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which basically means they want you to hunch over like a cat and have the vertebrae of your spine really circular and open, and that's so that they can put the spinal anesthesia in without, hitting any of your bones or anything. And they did it a couple of times. I'm not 100% sure if there was a bunch of different medication or if they just missed, but there was one time that it sent a shock of pain and tingling and numbness all the way down my body, and that was just about the worst of it. Because of my previous C-section experience, it was around this time that my anxiety and PTSD was triggered really bad, and I started crying because last time after the anesthesia is when everything started to go badly, and it was the same kind of pain where it went all the way down my body. So I was kind of triggered and started crying and getting really nervous. But I did notice that this time was different because I could not feel my legs at all, and I started getting really, really numb. So they had me lean back and they helped me lie down. They started putting the drape up and everything went really fast after that. They kept feeling my legs, asking me if I could feel it, doing little pinch tests where they're pinching my skin to make sure that I can't feel up to just under my breasts. Hayden was then allowed to come in, and I was freaking out pretty bad still, and my surgeon came around, who I have a great, rapport and relationship with, and he got right up in my face and he said, "Kiddo, it's time to calm down. You had your meltdown and that's fine. I know you're scared, but I promised you a drama-free delivery. This is not the same, and if you're hyperventilating and breathing really fast, that is only going to make things more dangerous for me while I'm operating." So I said, "Okay, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. You're right." And I brought myself back down, and I couldn't feel anything when they were cutting or anything, which is how it should be, and that's how it will be for you. You probably won't experience what I did with my bad C-section, but there was kind of some pulling and tugging, and I felt the weird sensation of, the lower half of my body being essentially dead. Every once in a while there would be a little bit of pressure, but it was nothing that was even close to pain. It was fine. And then I got to a point where I started telling the anesthesiologist, I said, I feel sick, I'm nauseous, I feel sick. And they knew that I'd had a bad experience last time, so they were right on it. They gave me something for the nausea, and I kept saying, I don't feel good, and then within 30 to 60 seconds, I felt great, and the nausea was gone, and I was so grateful, and I just said, thank you, I feel great, this doesn't hurt, it was such a positive experience. And then they said, all right, here comes the head, all right, and Hayden said he could feel me bobbing down because of how they were tugging her out of my body, and as soon as she was out, I heard the most pathetic little wah, 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 not even a real cry, just almost like a duck, just a pathetic, sarcastic, fake cry. And they brought her over to me, and she was swollen and purple, which is how a newborn should look, and she was covered in, you know, my innards. And she was beautiful and perfect, and they brought her over in a bassinet and let me watch while they cleaned her up, which that doesn't always happen, but I was really grateful. Then they gave her to Hayden, and while they delivered the placenta and stitched me back up and everything, they asked me if I wanted to do skin to skin, and I declined just because my arms were strapped down and my IV and everything. It was just really hard for me to kind of enjoy, so I just had Hayden hold her close to me, and personally that was enough for me. But they absolutely will ask you, you know, do you want to hold your baby? There's definitely that opportunity. It was around this time that they wheeled me into recovery, and that is where they took my vitals and gave me a little bit more medication. I was coming off of some of it, and it made me really itchy, and that is normal. That's what this scratch under my nose is I was, for probably like 12 hours after my surgery, I was just scratching my face and scratching my face, scratching my back, my legs, everything itched, and that I do remember from last time. But you don't have to suffer through that. They offer you Benadryl and antihistamines to reduce the itching and make it a lot more tolerable. I declined because Benadryl makes me fall right asleep. So I was like, no thank you, I'll just itch, and I did. My scalp itched it all. It was just so itchy. But while I was lying in there, they took my vitals and they pushed on my uterus every, like, you know, I think it's like every 10 minutes. They would kind of push on it and make sure that it was, you know, getting smaller. And you'll notice at this time that gradually as the spinal wears off, like at first when they're pushing on your uterus, you won't feel anything except pressure. And as it goes on, it'll feel a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of pain. And then a tiny bit more, and then a little more uncomfortable. And you can tell them that, just say, you know, I'm getting more uncomfortable. And usually they'll put something in your IV for you, or they'll give you something, you know, to make it a little better. But you will start to feel a little bit of pain, and that's completely normal. It's nothing that's unbearable. At least to me it wasn't. Hi. And that is really it. Like, that is it for the C-section part. They roll you into the room where you're going to be staying for the next couple of days. Within 12 to 24 hours, they had me stand up with my catheter in my IV, and they had me walk to the bathroom to clean up, because you really want to get up as soon as possible after having some pain medication, because it helps your abdominal muscles heal faster, and it helps your bowels get moving, because they want you to pass gas and preferably have a bowel movement before you leave. And they do give you stool softeners every so often, and Motrin, ibuprofen, whatever it is that you need. At night, they prefer that you don't sleep with the baby. It's fine if you're going to co-sleep or bed share at home, but the hospital, because they're liable, they prefer that you do not fall asleep with the baby unless someone is there to watch you, like your partner. So what they offer is that you nurse your baby, and they change him or her, and then they take them to the nursery for a couple hours so you can get some sleep, which I recommend taking advantage of if you want to, because the rest is so nice. And they bring them back in to nurse, which if you're nursing, they encourage you to do that right away, so you're able to nurse as soon as you're comfortable doing so. The first thing to come out is the IV, and then they'll give you a little bit of time, and then they take out the Foley or the catheter, and they encourage you to use the bathroom on your own. And once you've done all of those things, you are cleared to take your first shower, which was one of the best things ever, was just getting some hot water on myself. You're gonna want to drink a lot of water and eat, you know, vegetables and things that are high in fiber, and keep your bowels moving for sure, because otherwise you're gonna be a lot more uncomfortable. And that is basically it. It's been all uphill from there. Liliana and I are doing really well, and I'm just really eager to go home, honestly, and be in my own room and my own shower, my own bathroom, and everything. If you guys have any more questions, or you want to see any more videos about the C-section experience, I am happy to share. I know that for myself personally, if I know what to expect, I don't feel quite as nervous, and I was really nervous this time. But this time was nothing like the last time, and it was actually really painless, and I mean, not painless, but pretty darn close. Just leave me a comment letting me know anything that you'd like to know about the recovery process, or the surgery itself, or maybe sharing your own experience. pop on over to my other video. Is going to be about Lily and my breastfeeding journey so far, and a couple things you can potentially expect from the beginning of postpartum nursing. And thank you guys for following our story so far.